Hi, everybody. Welcome to week 2. This is Professor Forster, and I will be leading the discussion this week for the topics. We're going to look at program information in this first PowerPoint presentation, and then there's a short presentation on interprofessional education. Let's begin with talking about accreditation. Accreditation sets the standards for the school and for the program. The school is accredited by Middle States Commission on Higher Education, and the program is accredited by Commission on Accreditation for Respiratory Care. Accreditation sets the standards that we need to follow. The purpose of this presentation is to look primarily at the program. We have 2 goals, and the first one states to prepare graduates with demonstrated competence in the cognitive, psychomotor, and effective learning domains of respiratory care practice as performed by the registered respiratory therapist. And the second goal is to provide the Maryland, Washington, D.C. area with qualified practitioners to meet the demonstrated market needs. And this is a really good time to be a respiratory therapist. The need for respiratory therapists is tremendous. The Bureau of Labor Statistics expect a 14% job growth between now and 2030. Plus, our organization, our professional organization, the American Association for Respiratory Care, they are predicting that 93,000 people will leave the field by that same year, 2030, primarily due to retirement. So this is a really good field to get into. The Respiratory Care Therapist program is part of the School of Health Professions. This program, as well as other programs in the School of Health Profession, the application process is separate from the admission to the college. Keep in mind that the Respiratory Care Therapist program is selective and competitive. So we're looking at grades. Applicants must have a minimum grade of C or better in the prerequisite courses of Biology 109, which is Human Anatomy and Physiology. We also take A&P Part 1 and Part 2, and at this institution that's 220 and 221. English 101, Chemistry 107, Chemistry 108. 107 is lecture, 108 is lab, and of course this course, which is Respiratory 101. Applicants either must be in progress with or have completed required prerequisite courses by the application deadline. So that means if you have one more course, say you're in the middle, you're interested in applying and you still need to take English 101. You can be taking English 101 in that spring semester that you are applying. The application deadline is April 1st. Applicants must have an overall GPA of 2.5 for all completed prerequisite general education requirements and program requirements. And all these courses have to have a C or better. And there's a college requirement that your CCBC grade point average has to be a 2.0 or greater. The degree that you will earn for this program is Associate of Applied Science, AAS. It is 63 credits. 12 of those credits are the prerequisites that we talked about in the previous slide, 12 general education requirements, and 39 program requirements. And upon graduation, you will qualify to take the credentialing exams and obtain a license, which is good. You need a license to be able to practice in the state of Maryland. We do suggest a semester sequence. This is located in the college catalog, and the information in the next several slides is right from the college catalog, and I've provided the direct link to the college catalogs in the video link section of Brightspace. So first semester prior to admissions, and the prerequisites are highlighted in yellow. You kind of want to take Anatomy and Physiology, Bio 109, the communications, which is CMNS 101. It serves as a general education requirement. English 101, which is composition part 1. And then you want to take CSIT with 120, which is Diversity and Technological Society. This is a 3-credit course. It fulfills the diversity requirement, the general education diversity requirement, and plus it fills the computer requirements that we kind of need in the program and in the field. Moving on to the second semester prior to admission, here's where we're going to have you take in Chemistry 107 and 108. I always suggest taking the lab and the lecture together. You're going to take the English 102, which is a program requirement. Of course, you're taking RESP 101 now, or if it's before your second semester prior to admissions, it doesn't matter. You can take the course anytime. And then you have to have a general education elective for math. We want math 125 or 135, but we will take any general education math course. A lot of people come with statistics, and that is perfectly fine. Once you follow this outline sequencing, you're ready for admission. And here is a picture of what the application portal looks like for the School of Health Professions. You have to have a username and a password. Your password is usually your 900 number if you want to, but you definitely have to have a 900 number to be able to fill out the application. There are workshops provided by the School of Health Professions Selective Admissions Office on how to best complete the application online. It can be kind of tedious and it's a little confusing sometimes, but there are people willing to help you. And I've provided a direct link to this page on Brightspace. Once you're accepted in the program, this is the next couple of slides is the way the courses are laid out. Program courses are sequential. And they're prerequisites and co-requisites for each other. So you have to finish 102 before you can move on to 103 and 104. You have to finish 103, 104 before moving on to 200. In this semester, we've scheduled for you to take your Psychology 101 course, which is a 3-credit general education requirement. There is a specific reason to have it set up this way, and it's primarily for financial aid. To qualify for financial aid, you have to have 6 credits. If you have all the classes finished and only class you have to do in this fall semester for after acceptance, you have the Respiratory 102 course that you have to take, a 4-credit lecture lab course. From your first semester, you're going to move into semester 2, which is spring of your first year. Here you're going to be taking co-requisites, RESP 103 and 104. Therapeutics and Pathology is your lecture course. 104 is your clinical practicum and your lab course. Once those are successfully completed with a C or better, you're going to move on to this, they call it a summer short semester, which is RESP 200. Here you're officially considered a second-year student, and this is a lecture, lab, and clinical course. The summer short semester course starts the Monday after the 4th of July and runs for 5 weeks. Once you've completed that course, you have 2 weeks off, and then you move into semester 3, which is fall of your second year. By credit load, you're full-time. You take 2 lecture classes, 1 lab, and clinical course. The clinical course is 5 credits. It's 5 credits because you have 16 hours of clinical plus your 3 hours of lab. Your final semester, which is semester 4, spring year 2, you have 12 credits by credit load full time, and again, it's 2 lectures and 1 clinical lab component class, which is your RESP 206. It's clinical practicum 4. From here, we're done. If you're successful here, you are able to graduate and take your boards. The past several slides, we looked at the the layout of the program in terms of semesters, how the program sequences throughout the from admission to when you're done with the coursework and graduate. The next several slides shows you the specific time and day of when courses are offered. 102 first year, you have lecture Monday and Wednesday in the afternoon and lab Tuesday or Thursday in the morning. And your lab groups are determined by faculty and we'll send you your list. Respiratory 103, 104 are in the spring of your first year. 103 lectures Monday, Wednesday in the morning. Your respiratory 104, which is your clinical lab, during that same semester, you have an 8-hour clinical shift on Thursday, and you have your lab either Monday or Wednesday in the afternoon. Respiratory 200 is in the summer, and like I mentioned earlier, it starts the Monday after the 4th of July and runs for 5 weeks. You have lecture Monday and Wednesday in the morning, lab Tuesday or Thursday in the morning or the afternoon, and then an 8-hour shift in the clinical on on Wednesday. The reason we split the lab is a large lab group won't fit in the lab. So we split it into two so you get better ratio in terms of instructor to student ratio. This page outlines your second year schedule. They're pretty much very similar between the fall and the spring. In the fall, you have a lecture course in the morning, Tuesdays and Thursdays. You have a lecture course in the afternoon on Tuesdays and Thursday, and then you have your clinical days Monday and Wednesday, and that's an all-day, 8-hour shift. And then you have labs on Friday, either in the morning or the afternoon. And it's the same schedule for the spring semester. You have a lecture in the morning, you have a lecture in the afternoon, and then you have clinical on Monday and Wednesday and your lab Fridays morning or afternoon. What's interesting and notable about the Respiratory 205, it's a blended course, which means you come to school for the first 7 weeks, regular traditional face-to-face classroom, and then the remainder of the course is an online blended course where you do the work, you come in for meetings on particular days. Grading is always important, and we all want to know what the grading expectation is for the course. So here it is for respiratory courses. Any course RESP, all courses with the RESP following acceptance into the program, this is the grading. A is 90 or above, B is 80 to 89%, C is 75 to 79. Here we're a little different from the regular college. Our passing grade for the C is a 75%, D is a 60 to 74, and an E is 59% or less. It's really, really important to understand that for all courses with the RESP course following acceptance, you must earn a minimum final average of 75% to continue or to graduate. Here's the example. Remember, this spring of your first year, you take 2 courses, 103 and 104. Your final average after all the coursework, all the exams, all the projects are done is 71%. But you did really well in 104, which is your clinical lab. You got an 85%. You have failed out of the program, mainly because you got less than a 75% in 103. You need to apply for the next spring semester. And you will need to repeat both courses because they are co-requisites. As you saw from the previous slides in the presentation, we have 4 clinical practicums. The first one starts in your spring of your first year. There are really important clinical requirements to be able to for placement. First, you have to have an annual physical by your doctor, and you have to provide that information to the Director of Clinical Education, and you upload it into a data storing system that we have. You have to have an annual PPD, which is for tuberculosis. You have to show that you are free of TB. You have to have your annual flu shot. It usually covers the seasonal flu and the H1N1. DTaP immunizations, that's primarily for pertussis. And tetanus, it covers tetanus also, because if you stick yourself with a needle in the hospital, they're going to want to know when your last tetanus immunization was. And then for clinical placement, you need to have your COVID vaccine. You also need proof of immunization status. You have to have, which means you have to have proof of immunity through titers, which they draw your blood to see if you have immunity against these particular disease. You have to have measles, German measles, chickenpox, mumps, and hepatitis B, or you have to get the hepatitis B vaccine. But a good thing about these particular diseases, you've been immunized against these as kids. But the fact that you had the shots as kids is not proof of immunity. That's why you have to have your blood drawn and titers. Other things considered while in the program, you have to have health insurance. You will have to do a background check and a drug screen. You have to have BLSs, which is basic life support for healthcare providers through the American Heart Association. We do not accept American Red Cross certification. And then you have to meet the requirements of the essential functions, which outlines your physical requirements, interpersonal skills, intellectual ability, and emotional stability for the job as a respiratory therapist. And I have put those essential functions in the PowerPoint section of the Bright Space.